Welcome to the Fulfilled After 50 podcast. We are your hosts, Alice
and Carol. Join us each week for your fun dose of inspiration and healthy tips you can use every day so you can live the healthy and fulfilled life you desire and deserve. Hey everybody, it's Carol
and Alice.
And welcome to our podcast today. We're talking about a really important topic, and that is love and marriage.
It's always a good topic to talk about, especially the season of life.
Right.
And how to keep it going.
Yeah, keep things interesting. It's actually something that comes up a lot in our private Facebook group. It's a free private Facebook group, Fulfilled After 50 on Facebook. And it's one of those things that can be considered a touchy subject, but we're just pretty open about it.
Yeah.
And we're blessed. We both happen to have good
loving
marriages.
Husbands. But you know, it's like anything. It requires work and effort, I think, and just making sure that other person knows how much you love them and just little, showing their love language.
Right.
So we went through a course of the 5 love languages. Have you read them?
Yeah, well, I've read them and I've listened to the book on tape because I'm a big Audible girl. I know, but it's one of those things too. I think it's so easy to become two ships past the night. We were just talking about this, and I'm one of those people who can get lost in the details, whereas my husband's more of a visionary, big picture guy. So he oftentimes helps reel me back in from the minutia and helps to keep us connected. And I just adore him for that. And it wasn't so easy when the kids were little, but now that we're in the season of life, it's one of those things that I'm so glad he made an effort to do that. And it makes a big difference. So it gives me a good reminder. So I'm blessed in that way. The other thing I think that has helped keep us together is that I've witnessed my parents divorced after 49 years of marriage.
That's
hard. It was pretty traumatic for everybody involved. It was just kind of a surprise, but it was a surprise, but not really a surprise.
Right.
But it really made me vow to make sure that I have a connection with my husband, no matter what, when the kids are little or as we age. So anyhow, some of the things, I guess we were going to share some tips for keeping yourself close with your spouse.
Yeah.
Your significant other, your partner.
Right. And then, for the other group in here that maybe, your kids are all gone and they're grown and they're everywhere else and it's just you and him.
Or maybe you never were married, or you're divorced and you're by yourself.
Yes, and just finding that companionship you can go and do things with. Call somebody.
Yeah,
it's okay. Call a friend, and then have them invite another friend. So then it widens your circle a little bit. But for your marriage that we're talking about right here is, I know that when, our kids left and we were really involved in their lives, that it's hard sometimes to make that connection of not only are you trying to figure out who you were as a person before you were a mom and a wife, but who were you as a couple then?
Yep.
And so I think for Ricky and I, some of the things like we do now, and it took a little bit of effort to think about, is like every weekend we try to actually hit like a new restaurant that maybe is even 30 or 40 miles outside of our zone, but going and experiencing just a little something like that.
Right. I think that's really important. I think, some of the other things you can do is when you're together, I guess I always never wanted to be one of those couples that didn't have something to talk about. So, keeping that conversation going, and whether it's talking about your kids or your parents, you can talk about those things all the time. But sometimes you can intersperse it with some really great questions. You could just even Google, questions to ask your spouse. And I know we were just at a conference in Vegas over the last week, and we went to dinner on the 64th floor of this place, and I had this list on my phone that I had found, and I know how it may sound kind of corny.
I love it.
But it was actually really fun. It was simple questions, your favorite food, what are the favorite aspects of me that you love the most, and we went back and forth, and it was really engaging, and it was something that I felt like drew us a little bit closer together, even though I feel like we're strong.
Yes.
But at first he rolled his eyes and went, what does she have now? What in the world are we going to do? What? Hope nobody can hear us over here. But then he Yeah, he gave in, and I think it wasn't as painful as he thought it might have been.
That is so funny because I think it's really important that we are present, because I look around at people in the restaurants and what do you see? They're all like, it's like, where is the conversation?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, like, put your phone down. So I love, because sometimes you're caught up in your thoughts and there is no conversation going on. But I love that just with the 20 questions you come up and talk about. Yeah, it opens up new things.
Yeah, we can have lots of different conversation.
That's fun.
Other tips for keeping you close together, or just making sure that you're doing things together, like Alice mentioned. Having an outing, planning something for each week. Just having a goal of a date night or having some time together, or really making sure that if you're still working when you come home, that you kind of leave that at the office and you can kind of change your mindset and have a new trigger as you come through the door, and that you can actually stop and pause and be interested in your significant other, your spouse.
Right. Yeah. I think it's important too that you understand what their love language is and what yours is. So for me, mine is so much acts of service. I just love to, if I've come in from being out after a long day or something, and my husband, because he's a custom home builder, his day may be laxer than mine. He's like, have you done dinner? That would be great.
Right.
Open a can of soup, I don't care.
No, you don't. I have to say, sometimes I'll say to Tom, I'll say oh, you help empty the dishwasher.
Yeah.
That is really
sexy.
That's sexy. For me, acts of service that's my love language too. Yeah.
And Ricky's, I don't know what Tom's is, but he can tell us. But Ricky's is he is all about the words of affirmation. Okay, so he loves me to tell him I love him, and sometimes I don't always do that, and I have to really think to myself, make sure you tell your husband you love him.
Right.
It's funny because it's just second nature. I do that with my kids, but it's harder for me to do that with my husband. I don't know why that is. It's just it's not. I don't know. It just doesn't come naturally for me. But when I'm talking to my kids, I love you.
Right.
And then I'm like Ricky, I love you.
Right. I forgot this. Yeah, I think Tom's is more quality time.
Quality time.
He gets all. We'll spend time. If we get to spend time with the kids, it's not uncommon for him to get almost like a little
weepy,
teary-eyed about it when we're all together. So quality time together is really important. And it doesn't mean we're always doing something together, but just being near each other and having being together. But then also, having those conversations. He's more of a thinker, questioner. So to stop and have those deeper conversations and to have that quality time together is really important to him.
Yeah.
So, for example, this weekend we have our daughter's at college, and we were going to head to a game. So, of course, he was like, let's go for a hike and then visit me on the way down.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. I guess we're going to have some quality hiking time.
It's supposed to snow tomorrow. I can only imagine how cold it's home. I heard, I don't know, our weather is supposed to be a little frigid.
I thought I moved away from all that.
I know. Right?
We're not supposed to have that here in Virginia. Well, maybe once or twice a year, but we'll see. Of course, today it's like 70 degrees out, so anyhow. But keeping it interesting, those love languages we talk about, I think it's good to even stop and ask your spouse if you're not sure what it is. We already talked about a couple of them: words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time together. Some people are really have the love language of gifts, external gifts.
Yes.
Well, that's not something big in our.
Yeah, not
at least not for Tom and I, but for a lot of people it is. Something more glitzy.
Right.
Might be the way that you feel like someone demonstrates their love for you.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
the physical touch.
The physical.
Yes. Yeah. So that is one of the most important things, really, with any kind of marriage. I think is just making sure that you do have that intimacy and the physical touch. It's just for guys, it's really they love to know that they're loved, and that's how they receive. Really, that's part of their love language. So we're super excited to be coming to you next week with a really, like, sometimes a sensitive topic when it gets to be with your intimacy, as you've been married how many years?
Gosh, we just had our anniversary. What is it? 27.
27 years. And so Ricky and I have been married 18 years. It's a second marriage for both of us, but it's like, after a certain time period, it's easy somewhat to be comfortable.
Right.
And then you are not as spontaneous sometimes as your intimacy. And then how do you create a little bit of an extra spark? Just little things that you can put in. Sometimes I'll leave notes for Ricky, and that creates sometimes a little bit a sense of that physical touch for him. It's not like physical, but it mentally touches him.
I send a cute little text to Tom every so often.
You're so cute.
Making sure when we're driving, we like to at least have our arms touching.
Oh, they are so cute, guys. They are just like the June Cleaver, and what was her husband? June Cleaver. Leave It to Beaver.
Right.
That's Carol and Tom. They are so cute together.
But he's very introverted and not like he's quiet.
Yeah.
If I try to drag him on camera, he's like, no. Ricky's more open, so he's private about that. But it's true, yeah, and it helps keep things a little bit more. So I'm looking forward to next week. It's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, so make sure you guys tune in next week to the podcast it's going a little bit deeper. So if you listen in the car with your kids, you might want to have your earbuds in, because we're going to go really a little bit deeper into love and marriage and intimacy next week.
And keeping that alive, and what to do if there's, as we age, there can be barriers to intimacy. So just having a real conversation about that, because we like to keep it real.
Exactly. So if you're not already into our Facebook group, Fulfilled After 50, come over there. We go into conversations every day of the week. It's a safe zone for you women if you have things like you're struggling with. It's an amazing group of inspiring, encouraging women over there waiting to lift you up. It's a community that I don't think I've ever experienced.
Me neither. We had one of our members had surgery and kind of just said, hey, say a prayer for me. One of their other members, unbeknownst to us, found her address and sent her a gift, and then she posted it in there. Yeah. Like, they're just so endearing and supportive of each other. So if you're looking for a sisterhood, a community of women who lift each other up, especially in this season of our life, come on over. Fulfilled After 50. If you haven't subscribed to our podcast, what the heck? Go ahead and subscribe now. And we look forward to coming to you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.